Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Matt talking through some just quick updates for the church. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you know that I've been sitting with the Lord this week, and He's been talking to me a lot about how fun He finds it to dwell within Himself. Like before the foundation of the world, before He created anything, God wasn't bored. He had a perfect fellowship with the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and they thoroughly enjoyed each other. In actuality, it was out of the overflow of the joy and the delight and the love that they had for one another. They said, we have got to bring people into this because it is so rich. And so I was sitting with the Lord this week, and I stumbled upon Psalm 133, and David writes, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It's like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the garments of his, or I'm sorry, on the edge of his garments." And I just real quick, there's a couple things that I want you to see that I have just kind of arrested my heart, is this idea of it's in the unity. It's in the unity of the Godhead that we were created. And David basically is saying, oh my gosh, how pleasant it is when we are in unity and fellowship with one another. That when we're in one accord with one another. And then he goes on to say, it's like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron. And Aaron was the high priest, and it was the anointing oil, right? That would run down his head, and it went from the top of his head, and then it dripped off his beard. I'm trying to have an Aaron beard. And it dripped off his beard, and it would collect, and then it would literally run down his robe on the garments. And this imagery here is powerful because the anointing, or the oil of the anointing, is actually what we would call like the move of God in the Spirit. And this idea that David seems to be saying, it's not in the dramatics of revival and all of the hoopla that the anointing is released. It's actually released in the when we dwell together in unity. And so that's Psalm 133, this image, right? And then Jesus goes on in a step further, and in his priestly prayer, Jesus in John 17 has this prayer where he starts talking about, he's praying to the Father, and he's saying, essentially in verse 23, he's saying, I in them and you in me. Jesus is saying, Father, you are in me. That's how I'm living in the world, and I am in them. And then he goes on to say, the purpose of all of that is that they may be made perfect in oneness, in one. They may be in unity, and that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. And it's just profound to me as I've been pondering and sitting in this, what I feel like is a revelation from the Lord, this place that it's in unity. And I need to pause here, and I want to define my terms. Unity does not mean agreement necessarily, right? That we could actually we could disagree on certain elements of how to do things, and we can actually be in political disagreement. We can be in disagreement in some of the practicals about how we're going to choose to live. However, there is a place where Jesus is saying is that in his body, the world will know, right? The world may know that God, the Father, has sent Jesus, and that the Father loves the world. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. And that the way that manifests in the earth is that when his body prioritizes unity, being able to see the Jesus in each person, being able to see that the Father, even your enemies, the Father loves them because he created them in delight and in joy. And even in places where we don't agree and we don't understand one another necessarily, that there's actually an invitation for the body to come into unity that says, even though I don't understand why you are thinking the way you're thinking, I choose to make agreement that you are worthy of my affection and my love. I can stay close to you even if we disagree. And Jesus says, and that is how the whole world will know that they are my children, that they are my disciples, that I have loved them. It's like the anointing. It's like the oil dripping off the beard. And if Jesus truly is the head, he is the high priest, as it says in Hebrews, and we are the body, that whole idea is that the oil first went onto Jesus' head, and now it is literally saturating us. as we come into unity with who He is and with who each other are, made in the image of God. Just food for thought. I wanted to offer that so that you knew that I've been holding you in my heart and praying for you, and praying that the Lord would bring an uncommon unity in uncommon times. And so, with that being said, I wanted to give you some quick updates. I know that there maybe has been some confusion. Number one, we are service on Sunday. We have one service this Sunday. That's June 14th. We're going down to one service, right? We have been doing the 9 a.m. and the 10:15. We're going to combine those two and just do the one service. So it's going to be a little bit more crowded. And so with that, we have some things. Number two, service time. We're not doing the 9 a.m. service. We're just doing the 10:15. Now I'm going to pause here and let you know. You may have been used to the 10:45 service that we used to do. I want to go on record here and hear me say it. I'll say it slowly. We are not meeting at 10:45. We are meeting at 10:15. Not 10:45. We are meeting at 10:15. And lastly, because of copyright issues, they're not going to, if you're going to stay home and live stream at 10:15 with us, we cannot live stream the audio of the worship songs through Facebook Live or any other type of medium. So that being said, what I've done is in the email that I've sent you that carries this video, there will be 2 links to songs via YouTube. And those are the 2 worship songs that we're doing. And so I will open us up. We'll begin the service. I'll open us up. And then when we go to worship, what I'll do is I'll put a screen up and I'll mute the live stream. And then I invite you then to open up the YouTube songs and worship on your own. It'll be about 10 to 12 minutes total for the 2 songs. And then we will come back together afterwards and we'll continue on with the rest of the service. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to text me or call me or email me. Hopefully that explains everything. We're really looking forward to being with you. The last and not least, I want to say that in this time, we know that there are a lot of people that have differing opinions and different points of emphasis. And so our heart is that this is a perfect opportunity to practice what Paul talks about in Corinthians, where he starts talking about meat sacrificed to idols. And he says, one's convinced of this and the other's convinced of this. And I want to offer that it's not until we disagree that unity comes into play. You don't know how united you are until there is something that you disagree on. And so if we all have the same mind and the same thought, then we all end up looking like each other. And so there's actually beauty in the joints of how we are agreeing and disagreeing, how we choose to honor one another. And so with that, my heart for this body is that wherever political dispensation you are, whatever, whether you fall in the lines of conservative or liberal, or whether you fall in the lines of legalistic or charismatic crazy, we want you to know that you have a place at the table and your voice matters. And we are doing our best to create an atmosphere where honor is how we choose to deal with each other, even when we don't understand. And so we just want to say thank you for journeying this road with us. Thank you that it's messy and beautiful and it's just rich. And so we can't wait to see you at 10:15 on Sunday morning. Take care.